talk about what's brickie? Tell me about what is special about bringing a brickie.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about when I was young and what I knew that they were brickie. I grew up in
You're
Little
not
Park.
young anymore?
Well, mid-age.
Okay.
Just hitting 40. Really thinking about it, I went to Lew Wallace High School, which was Glen Park. It was right next to Hobart. And I didn't know too much about Hobart at the time, other than they had this football team that was just dominating anybody. And I remember going to the game one night. I was on the field looking up, and I saw this maze of people, and I thought, what in the world are all these people here for a high school football game? And I quickly realized as I got involved in the community, it's a way of life. Friday lights is exactly what Hobart was about. Now, that time has passed somewhat. We're not as dominant as we once were. Age and size of schools have kind of caught up and neutralized the workout programs now in the off season. But being a brickie, once a brickie, always a brickie is the slogan that our community has adopted. And I think the days back in Coach Howe, and some of us remember Coach Howe. I mean, he was a fixture in Indiana football, not just in Hobart football, but Indiana. So a brickie, in the old days, you always thought brickie was more of the football. Now it's expanded. Our sports programs now are diverse. We just had a female state champ in swimming, and we're now putting in a Olympic-sized swimming pool at the high school. It's going to probably be...
Well, she's only there for 4 years, so...
Yeah, but we're going to have many more.
We'll put a swimming pool in and she's going to be gone.
We're going to have many more. Many more.
Okay, that's another value.
So, that kind of thing now, the brickie idea is more diverse than it used to be. Used to, everybody thought it was football. Now it's much more diverse. Baseball teams.
But it's all still built around being tough and...
Yeah, around the Johan type of mentality, the guy that's, ready to take on anything and...
shooting bricks on the basketball court.
Yeah, well, we've had those games.
So Weiler, you guys have had some runs here in football.
Yeah, we've done pretty good. I brought some state
sure you did.
championship baseball, softballs. I brought some state championship billboards for the football team. We've done pretty good. I think we're like the Cubs, though. The Cubs of old, right? If you're a Cubs fan, you're a Cubs fan, and we went through a lot of miserable seasons over time at every high school that has dry spots. So, Whiting where the fans come out and they watch their team, regardless of what they're doing, and when they're winning, it's that much more exciting. And we went downstate a couple years ago for the state finals in football, and we had an amazing crowd that came from Whiting just to go down to Indy to watch the team. So I'm sure every community has that, but. In our school, it's small enough to where Crown Point's got more teachers than we have kids.
Population-wise.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Crown Point's sort of management heavy.
Yeah, there too.
Trying to help them out.
In the city too,
Yeah.
the mayors don't control any of the schools. Yeah, just let you know that.
So similar to Hobart, Michigan City had a rich history too. We had the Elston Red Devils, the Rogers Raiders, Marquette Catholic, and we were a powerhouse in basketball throughout the 70s and 80s, and then eventually we had the consolidation. I got to say that Marquette Blazers Catholic School has had some state champions.
Amazing.
Back to back, yeah.
And some great teams, great coaching. So, I've seen now since the merger, we're the Michigan City Wolves, and I believe they let high school students come up with that kind of team pack format, and with the consolidation, I think the teams have improved now. We've got some good coaching, football teams getting rolling again, and we're competitive in the Newland Conference, and that's important. But the rich history goes back. I mean, this is a
I think Michigan City's ranked higher
1937
than
Elston
any of the
ring,
other
so-
teams right now in football.
Yeah. But like I said, there's still a lot of Red Devil blood in the city, and that's where most of my family went to Elston. I happened to go to Rogers, played football through the early 80s there, and so I was saying earlier, I was 145 pounds when I graduated, so I was a wide receiver at the time. So I think I'd probably get on the line at this point somewhere if they were.
If they were really in need.
Yeah, they're really in need, but.
You got a baseball history, obviously, in LaPorte,
We've got
for
a
sure.
great baseball
in
history,
multiple
and I
sports,
think
but-
that's what I have to tout among you guys today, because the other sports I don't think I can so much, but yeah, Ken Schreiber, synonymous with LaPorte baseball, and
And really high school baseball in
high school,
in
yeah,
Indiana.
yeah, and he actually is just a throwback to the old coach that could demand respect from his players, and if you didn't fall in line, I mean, you were not on the team. Didn't matter who you were in the community, you know, he had to play by the rules. And his record, you know, shows for it. So that's a great guy.
Tell me about the
They're on my
Bucks.
staff.
Well, I mean, Crown Point, you gotta look at it too, as, I mean, we have 3 different school systems that come to Crown Point. You know, we have, on the northern part of Crown Point, we've got Maryville School System. On the west side of Crown Point, actually has some Lake Central Indians that go to school in Lake Central. And then, of course, we have our primary footprint with the Bulldogs. So, you know, we, as a mayor, you gotta be somewhat careful that, you know, you're just not saying Bulldogs only. I mean, I live in Bulldog country because that's where my kids went to school, and it's, you know, and that's where I live and stuff like that. But you gotta, you know, we've got to look at all the facets of all the kids and families that live in Crown Point that have done well in their schools.
And sounds like you might be getting an Andre move coming into Crown Point.
That may be the case. I mean, you know, the 5959 Broadway, you know, maybe the, you know, the 231ers down there, that's, you know, if that's where they're gonna be located, in Route 231 and State Road 231.
How do you juggle that? I mean, because you could be at the same game.
You are. You know,
Who do you root for?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's gotta be, I think, the old Ray Rayner days where, you know, wear the split uniform and wear the different hats and stuff like that. But you know, the sports complex that we've built in Crown Point is inclusive to all our residents that live. So we, you know, so they really, at a younger age, get to play with, you know, on the same team. And then at that point, when they get older in the high school levels or the middle schools where they go to, then they can start to divide off. And that competition on the field itself is pretty competitive. But when they get off the fields, those friendships they've made early on are still pretty strong, and that's part of our, you know, analogy here in Crown Point, that, you know, we you know, keep people together and you know, they play together. So.
And you've made it a focus. I mean, you've definitely said, particularly with youth sports, tournaments, etc., you said that's going to be one of the hallmarks of Crown Point.
Absolutely. And I got you know, in high school, I played at Hanover Central and played baseball there, and Artie Smith was my high school coach, would play on the 71 state champions for LaPorte. And so I just want to, you know,
Yeah.
I know all about the history, because
Yeah, cool.
what Coach Smith brought to Hanover Central as a baseball player, and I went into play college baseball, was the footprint that Coach Schreiber brought over, that LaPorte brought into my life too. So it's kind of,
It's interesting how it all plays across.
it does. And, you know, you talk about the mayor, and, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without sports. I'm very competitive in it, and I treat our administration that way as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so there's things that you are able to provide to your community. Hopefully you're providing some of these quality of life amenities that we all are very proud of. At the end of the day, we kind of kid with one another here, but, you know, we all think about the quality of life that we've produced in our own backyards, that have now taken the opportunity for these families, these kids that move on. The next leaders and generations ahead of us are going to do the same thing, and there's lasting impressions that are out there.